Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Earth Game Podcast. I'm your host, Monica, and on this podcast, we talk about pretty much anything that can help you along your journey through this game that we call life on beautiful planet Earth. And in today's episode, I really wanted to dive into my personal favorite manifestation techniques, tips, tricks, just how I view manifestation from everything that I've learned over the course of several years on my journey when I first got introduced to the concept of manifestation and really learning about the spiritual side of life and the spiritual aspects, the energetic aspects of achieving your goals and making things happen in your life. And I have done so many different things. Like, I have tried so many different things, and it's clear to me now, after trial and erroring so many different things, like, I have a clear set of things that I really love to do for manifestation, and I want to share them with you all. So, first things first, it's really important when it comes to manifestation, when you're thinking about like manifesting. I know that since it's such a trendy topic online right now, a lot of people think of manifestation as this like you sit down and meditate and then it's done and that's like you're manifesting. But the truth is that we are always manifesting. No matter what we're doing, no matter if we're consciously intending to be manifesting or not, we're always manifesting because that's the nature of our existence. And I think that so many people forget this because of how we are learning to consciously manifest, that we think that, oh, all the other things that we're doing don't really matter, but it really does. And despite any of these tips or tricks or techniques that I share with you today, it's really the in between. It's really the who you are being, because your being, your embodiment, your identity, that's what manifests. Yes, you can say affirmations and you can do a meditation and you can journal and you can do all these things, which is great because it puts you in that energy of intention. But when you're not manifesting, quote unquote, manifesting through a meditation or affirmations or whatever, who are you? Like, are you complaining about every little thing outside of your meditation? Are you seeing your life through the lens and through the perspective of what you don't want as opposed to what you do want? So it's like the way that we are and the way that we behave and the way that we act and what we think and what we say when we are not actively trying to quote unquote manifest something. I remember a few years ago, I read this very simple, very cut and dry, black and white book on manifestation. I'll link it in the show notes if I can find it. I'm pretty sure it's called Manifest Now or Manifest. I think it's Manifest Now. I'll have to look it up. But there's a concept in the book that talks about how your day-to-day life is manifestation. And what she talks about is the fact that just going to the grocery store and coming home with groceries, that counts as manifestation. We may not think that that's the same thing as manifestation because we've pedestalized certain goals that we are manifesting for ourselves, that we're calling in. But everything that you do is manifestation. Why? Because what is the basis of manifestation? Manifestation is having a goal or a desire or a want, basically a desire, figuring out that you're deciding on it, right? And whatever is required. Sometimes it's more things that you have to figure out. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're like, I just know I want this thing and that's it. And then the process of getting it. That's really the most basic principles of manifestation. So if I need to fill up my refrigerator because I'm running low on groceries, I'm going to look at my fridge and think to myself, I need to go to the grocery store. Then I'm going to make a list or just figure out what it is that I need to get. I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go get it. I'm going to walk through the aisles. Maybe while I was even writing my list, I look mentally in the store and I think where I'm going in the store. I get there, I do it, I come home, and I just manifested groceries. Like, it doesn't have to be this very complicated, convoluted, esoteric thing. Yes, there's a lot of science behind the spirituality of manifestation and the energetics, and a lot of people go into the quantum physics realm and all of that. I don't even want to go to that today. I just want to talk about how simple manifestation really can be. And it's just the fact that whatever the energy of your intention is and the actions that you take along with the way that you see yourself, that's what ultimately brings anything in. So before you even apply any of these techniques or tips or tricks for manifestation, I want you to really like sit there and consider like, okay, these desires that I have, if I removed this esoteric wisdom or just putting this goal on a pedestal, like how would I view this thing if it was just like a very normal, natural part of my everyday life? How would I identify with this thing? Okay, so number one, I want to say that when I first started becoming a very conscious creator and a conscious manifester, I was very aware of my thoughts and then what I did with those thoughts when I was specifically pointing them towards my desire. And what I mean by that is, let's say I have a desire for something. When I hold the thoughts around this desire and the future and getting it and that feeling of receiving it, I'm thinking, okay, what can I do to laser focus in on these thoughts? Why? Because the repetition of these thoughts of your desires when you are thinking in the state that it's already done, that's one of the most important things when it comes to manifestation. Then it's like, okay, well, what can I do with this? And for me, it was meditating and journaling. And those are two things that I still, to this day, those are like my favorite manifestation techniques simply because they make me feel the best. So when you're going through any sort of manifestation techniques, you need to recognize that the feeling, this is why Neville Goddard talks about the feeling is the secret, because the feeling is what's going to put that in action. Yes, you can think about things, you can affirm things to yourself, but if you don't feel that feeling, that energy behind it, I like to call it the lust for life energy of just feeling incredible and amazing. And of course, sometimes you're not going to feel incredible and amazing, but for the most part, these techniques that you use, they should put you in this energy of receiving and gratitude and excitement and overflow and abundance and joy and ease and all those things, okay? So for me, when I meditate, I specifically visualize the outcome. And this is the number one thing that I would recommend to do is have that feeling while you're visualizing the outcome, because that is the most potent frequency that's going to lead you to the breadcrumbs. And this is the path that you take to materialize your desire. I think we overthink it. I know I overthink it myself a lot. But once you decide on something, and once you decide that you're going to get this desire of yours, from then on, you're walking down the path of getting it. And it may not make sense. It may not be the most logical thing. You might just get like a random hit of inspiration to call somebody, or, it could be anything. But the most important thing to know is that once you decided that this is yours and it's already done and nothing can get in your way, from that point on, you're walking down the path of getting your desire and materializing it and manifesting it. So for me, once I decide that I have a desire and that I want something, or I want my life to look a certain way, or I have a goal, then I start meditating on it and visualizing myself in it. And I visualize all the different things that would spark that feeling within me. So for example, if you are manifesting a certain amount of money, a certain amount of income, or some sort of goal within your career, within finances, you're going to visualize those specific things that if it were to happen in your real life, you would be so excited and you would be jumping up and down and you would just feel so grateful and you would feel so proud and you would, whatever those feelings are, okay? So you're going to focus, in all of these techniques, you need to focus on the feeling of having what it is that you desire. Because when you start creating any sort of separation, that's when you start repelling your manifestation. So for me, anytime I do like money meditations or visualizations, I'm visualizing the way that the money is coming in. Maybe I'm receiving a notification on my phone. Maybe I'm receiving an email. Maybe I'm receiving some checks in the mail. Maybe I'm just checking my bank account balance. I literally meditate and visualize myself logging into my bank account balance on my phone, opening my bank account and like just jumping up and down and being so happy, or looking at it and being like, yeah, of course, like duh, that's just what it's supposed to be. And the more that you can normalize this feeling, yes, it brings all of that high energy and high frequency and excitement and all of that. The more you can normalize holding on to that feeling and bring it into your day-to-day life, regardless of what technique you use, that's when your manifestation is going to come instantly, because you've removed any separation between you and the desire and you having the desire. So this is why I say the feeling is the secret. So number one, meditation and specifically visualizing whatever it is along with the feeling. Number two, scripting. I love scripting. Ever since I learned what scripting was, I became obsessed with it. And to this day, I script. I scripted this morning, I scripted yesterday, I scripted the day before that. And what scripting is, if you don't know what scripting is, it is writing what it sounds like, a script for every desire that you have and all the goals that you have as if they're happening right now. So whatever that desire is, if you already had it, if you were living in that life with that thing, how would you speak about it? What would you be doing on a daily basis? Like, what would your life look like if you had it? And then you're writing that in present tense. So the reason why I love scripting is because I'm basically writing these affirmations about myself and about my life in the present tense. And it gets me so excited that it's on the way, that I already feel like it's here. And I think that that is something that a lot of people struggle with when it comes to manifestation, because it's like, how am I supposed to feel like something is here if it's clearly not here? And that's a separation that I'm talking about. If you make it so pedestalized or so difficult to achieve, or just like a goal that just doesn't even make any sense, you are not going to feel in resonance with it. And that resonance is what calls it into you, because it just makes so much sense that of course it would happen. So for example, if you are looking to build your wealth and you say to yourself, and right now you're not making any money, and you say to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to have $1 million in my bank account. If you have resistance towards that timeline or that goal or whatever it is, it's going to feel very difficult for that to feel a normal part of your life. And I'm not saying that if you have $0 in your bank account, you can't have $1 million tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. It has to do with your feeling and your resonance, and the resonance that you hold in identification to the thing, to the desire, to the goal, to whatever it is. That's why I said that that feeling needs to be so normalized in your life. And how do we do this? We do this through imagination and any other techniques that normalize or make you feel this way. Now, some people love utilizing manifestation techniques. Other people, they don't really have to do very much. It's not about what you're doing. It's about being in the frequency that is aligned with that particular thing because of the person who you are. Right? So someone who is a very successful CEO, they have a certain frequency, they have a certain lifestyle, they have certain routines, they have thought patterns. All of these things create their frequency and resonance to other things in their field, such as success, wealth, opportunities, networking, whatever it might be. So your job when you're manifesting anything is, how can I get into resonance and be on the frequency of the person that already has that thing? And that's why these techniques can be helpful, because it gets you into that frequency. But make no mistake, you do not have to meditate. You do not have to journal. You don't have to say affirmations. There's nothing that you quote unquote have to do to manifest something. There's not. There's not something that you have to do. These are just for fun, because they make you feel good, because they make you excited, because they put you in that frequency of resonance. Okay? So scripting, I absolutely love. And some people I have heard will script and then read their script aloud. I don't read the script aloud. I just, for whatever reason, I just love the feeling of writing it. And most of the time, I'm writing the same script every single day. And it might seem a little bit repetitive, but you have to realize we have thousands of thoughts every single day about what we're going to eat, about things in our work, about our family, about our relationships, about our errands or to-do list or whatever it is. So you have to make sure that you can cultivate that frequency of resonance. And for me, it looks like consistently using the same script because that makes me feel good. Again, what makes you feel good? What makes you tap into that resonance and tap into that frequency? So that's number 2. Number 3, I haven't been doing like in the most recent past, but I have utilized it and I love it, is EFT tapping. So EFT tapping is where you are tapping on specific meridian parts on your body. And I really like doing this anytime I'm like stressed or overwhelmed or anxious, but you can also do this coupled with affirmations, and there's tons of resources. Like I'm sure YouTube has tons of EFT tapping. There's Instagram accounts, TikToks, but basically this can help reprogram your subconscious mind and also increase your frequency and your vibration. But I love doing it also if I ever need like a reset within my nervous system. I'll just tap on all the different meridian parts, and I swear to you, it's like an instant shift. So highly recommend, if that sounds interesting to you, go look up different resources for EFT tapping on YouTube and Instagram because there's a ton, and it really does make a huge difference, especially if you feel like you're constantly stressed or nervous or in fight or flight, or maybe like you're not always stressed, but there's points of time where you might notice like spiraling thoughts. I would highly recommend EFT tapping for that. Now, number 4, this is going to sound maybe a little like cuckoo to certain people or delusional, but I swear to you, it works, is rampages and just like this excited energy of saying affirmations. It's like saying the script from your scripting, but you're saying it aloud on just like a stream of consciousness. Abraham Hicks does a lot of these rampages. And again, it just puts you in this energy of receiving, especially if you couple it with gratitude, which is the next technique that I highly recommend for manifesting, because gratitude puts you in the receiving mode. I talked about this on another podcast episode, but the reason why gratitude is so powerful to put you in that frequency of resonance is because you're already in the frequency of receiving, because you are increasing the value and appreciating things that you already have. And when you do that, you literally train your brain to focus on the abundance instead of focusing on the lack. And we already know that what you focus on is what's going to grow. Where energy goes, attention flows. And that's where you're going to get more of all the amazing things that you're already excited for. Now, I love doing rampages or listening to rampages while I'm walking. And when I'm walking with a certain posture. And the way that I like think about this is, if you imagined the version of yourself that already had materialized everything in your script, your affirmations, your rampages, whatever it is, if it was already materialized, how would that version of you walk? If you knew that after 30 days of you aligning your frequency intentionally, whether it be through meditation or journaling or scripting or rampages or whatever, any of these techniques, if you knew guaranteed in 30 days everything was going to come true, you would be walking and talking and acting differently today if you knew guaranteed it was coming. So that's the type of energy that I have when I'm doing these walks and when I'm going through these rampages in my mind or listening to them, because I'm like, she's got it going on. She has all these amazing things coming to her. Her life is incredible. She's learning, she's growing, she's manifesting. Like you literally walk differently. You walk and talk differently when you have that backing of, I know this is happening for me and I know this is happening exactly how it's supposed to. So highly recommend walking and listening to a Rampage and really holding that posture physically and mentally, because yes, it's the posture of, putting your shoulders back and walking with your head held high and the momentum of your pace, but also it's mentally, like how you see yourself in your mind, that those characteristics of the person who already has those things. So I really quickly want to mention the law of assumption and the law of attraction, because I think that a lot of people push their desires away when they're manifesting things. The best way to manifest anything is to assume the identity of it already. And once you assume the identity of it subconsciously and intuitively, you're going to get different hits. You're going to get different breadcrumbs of your path. Remember, I said once you decide on a desire and you decide that it's going to happen for you, the rest of your journey, you're just getting there. The rest of your journey, it's happening for you. The time that it's going to take and the amount of things that you'll do in between that moment to when you're getting it, that's completely up to you, based on your journey and based on whether or not you have resistance or if you're in the frequency. And like I said, sometimes it's not logical. I remember when I hit my biggest month in my business, I was just in the flow. I think being in the flow is another really good word to think of for being in the frequency of resonance. When you're just in the flow, you're not questioning, you're not doubting, you're confident, you know your worth, you know your value, and you're just doing and being simultaneously in the most magical way. And if you've ever experienced flow, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because it just feels effortless. It just feels easy. And this is the exact thing that people are referring to when they talk about it gets to be easy, it gets to be effortless. That energy, that comes from flow, because when you're in flow, you're so tapped into the right of your brain. You don't have time to question or to doubt or to worry, because you literally are so in the flow. I don't know if that makes sense, but you're so in the flow, you literally do not have time to question things or to doubt yourself. They're completely two different frequencies. So that's why I say the best way to manifest anything is to assume the identity of having it. Because think about it like this: the person who, I'm going to use money again, the person who has reached their money goal for a specific month, let's say you set out to reach, I don't know, 10K for a particular income for the month. If you are embodying that version of yourself, you're not checking your bank account. You're not figuring out how the money is going to come. You're not worried about how many clients you need to get to that point, because you already did it. You already have it. That's like the CEO of a company asking, how should I climb the corporate ladder and get to the CEO position? They're not thinking about that at all. They're literally thinking about all of the tasks that accompany their job position, right? So that's why I'm saying I assume the identity of what it is that you desire, because from there, it's already done. It's already done, and all that you experience from then on is these magical either impulses, experiences, opportunities, connections within your network, different things. Like it just, that's when you're in the flow. You assume the identity, nothing can change that. And from then on, it's just the unraveling, it's just the unfolding of your path. And when you assume the identity, you get to be excited and celebrate all the things that come with that. So if you're assuming the identity of a successful business person that makes a certain amount of income, that has these goals that they've already reached in their business, they would be celebrating it. They would be super excited every single day to keep moving forward. And I think it's very highly underrated as a manifestation practice to have some sort of act of celebration. I personally love having like dance parties where I imagine whatever the goal that I had, it materialized, and then I'm celebrating, and I just love to dance. I love to move. It just makes me feel, again, it's that feeling, makes me feel so good. So I'm just celebrating it in the moment. And maybe for you, that celebration is something different. So, what are those things that you would do after your manifestation has materialized to celebrate or to show excitement, to show gratitude? Do that now. Do that now because you already have it. You already decided that it's coming. You already decided that you're being the person who has the thing. So, of course, you're going to celebrate it because it's already a done deal, right? And in between the moment from when you decided that you're going to reach this goal or you decided that this thing is going to materialize and you assume the identity, from then on, that is the truth. That is the absolute truth. Because anything that's happening in your reality is a reflection of the past. Because what is within is without. Us and our thoughts and our behaviors and our actions, that comes first, and then our reality reflects it back to us. So if you've decided on something and you're assuming the identity, from then on, you are just focusing on how you can imagine all of this being real. What I mean by that is if you see something in your reality that does not correlate with this identity and these assumptions of who you are, now that you've chose to materialize certain things, you're not giving that your attention. What your attention is going towards is the new you, the goals that you have, the materializations of these desires. You're not reacting or complaining about or really paying much attention to these things that are happening because that's not you anymore. And I think that this is the part, the inner work part that a lot of people tend to forget that comes with manifestation, because if you are manifesting, let's say, certain health goals for yourself, and you start getting triggered by things in your reality, let's say you eat something that didn't make you feel as healthy as you could have, or you skipped your workout, or whatever these things are, and then you start reacting to that, and then you start spiraling, you are acting like the person that doesn't have these health goals met. The person that does just says to themselves, okay, well, the next thing that I do is going to be on point. The next action that I take is going to be aligned. I don't care about what just happened. That's not even me anymore. Whatever it was, I'm going to let it be that. And then I'm just going to keep going as the healthy version of myself. This raising your vibration and attuning your frequency, sometimes it sounds very simple, but in the moment, our ego or our traumas or whatever our programming is that is attached to an outdated identity, once we choose a new identity, those things are going to come up. And you either can choose to give it a lot of your attention, energy, and focus, or you can work through whatever you need to work through and say, okay, well, maybe I didn't feel worthy before, but now I know I'm worthy. Maybe I didn't feel capable before, but now I know I'm more than capable. And it's just this rewriting of a program in the moment after you assume this new identity. I think that sometimes this is where people get tripped up, because in their mind, they're like, okay, but I assume the identity, but then these things are happening in my reality. So that just means that it's not coming. And like I said, the CEO is not questioning how to become CEO. If you are assuming a new identity, you're not questioning anything because you know it's all the unfolding of your path. You know that every breadcrumb is leading you to the point of where you want to go. And when you can surrender that knowing and just live in the feeling of excitement, the feeling of gratitude, the feeling of that lust for life that I always describe, then you're going to attract the most amazing experiences that you couldn't even begin to think about, because the truth is that God knows what your desires are better than you, and the universe, if everything in the universe has to move in order for you to get that, it will. It really will. And that's what it's the truth for all of us, because we are all living in our own world, and in our own world, it's all about us. It's all about us in our world. In everyone's world, it's all about them. I used to actually feel, I posted a thread about this. I used to actually feel very uncomfortable with like saying that I'm the best, because I didn't want to put myself above other people and think that, anybody is below me. But then I realized that this is my world because it's my life, and that means that I'm the best version of me. I'm not necessarily better than anybody, but in my life, I'm the best because I'm the best version of myself that I could possibly be. So keep in mind that this is your life, regardless of any other, responsibilities or obligations or things that you have to do, whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're a partner or a daughter or a son or whatever it is. It's still your life at the end of the day, and you can choose to be anybody that you want once you make that choice. Just let it all happen for you. It sounds simple in the moment. Sometimes when we're in our day-to-day life and it's not happening as quickly as we want or in the way that we think, then we start to second guess. But again, when you can just trust and surrender to the fact that you already made the decision and it's already a done deal and you're already living in that and you stay in that imagination and feeling, it's gonna materialize. There's no other way for it to happen because this is how energy works. So how can you show up as that version and act like them in any part of your day? And I think that this is the most underrated manifestation technique. If your goal is to be a 6-figure income earner, how would they start their day? If your goal is to be the healthiest version of yourself, what are their habits on a weekly basis like? And are you embodying that now? Maybe you have a dream home in mind that is $1 million home or multi-million dollars, and right now you may not know exactly how you're going to get there, but you know that house is going to be yours, and you start going to $1 million real estate openings for homes and looking at open houses and just checking them out. And while you're walking in that house, in your mind, this is my house. This is where I'm putting my toaster. This is where my coffee machine is going to go. Ooh, in this little corner, I'm going to make it all nice and comfy. And this is going to be where I do my journaling and my reading, right? So like, how can you live in it now? In anything that you do. Put aside a meditation, put aside a journaling, put aside the tapping, put aside any other techniques that are out there, because there are so many different techniques, affirmations, subliminal tracks. I also really love subliminal tracks. I'll get to that in a second because that will be my last one. But in anything that you do, ask yourself how the X version, X being your desire, how the X version of yourself would act had they already had the thing, and start doing that. And that's literally it. You don't need any other technique. You don't need any other tips or tricks. You just need to understand that you assume the identity and follow the breadcrumbs. That's it. Very, very simple. So going back to the subliminal tracks, I'm actually working on a collection of different tapes for my team. So I'm working on subliminal tracks, affirmation rampages, more calm affirmation tracks, and meditations. So I'm super excited, but the subliminal tracks I love because it just sounds like either white noise or some sort of, I really love the fire crackling subliminals. That's what I'm making for my team. But in the background, there's affirmations that your subconscious mind hears, and it's on a loop. So remember, if you have tens of thousands of thoughts every single day, you want to make sure that a good chunk of those thoughts are set with an intention that match your desires. So if you have a subliminal, subconscious loop of affirmations in your subliminal tape, then your thoughts are going to have that intention and that frequency behind them. And then, of course, we know that your thoughts become things, and that's what's going to lead you to also having those intuitive hits and breadcrumbs. So I love subliminal tracks. You can either listen to like subliminals on YouTube or you can make your own. I highly recommend making your own simply because it's the most powerful when it's you saying it and listening to yourself, even though you can't hear it on a conscious level because it's a subliminal, but that is the most powerful. And while you're making your subliminal, while you're recording this, do you feel that energy? Do you feel the feeling? The feeling is the secret. Do you feel that in there? So that's why I'm working on these tapes for my team, because I really am putting all this intention and frequency. And if you don't want to make your own subliminal tracks or affirmation tracks or whatever, just make sure that the person that you're plugging into, you align with their frequency, and they also are telling you what the affirmations are. The last thing you want is to be subconsciously affirming things that actually are not for your highest good. So just a warning for subliminals and any of those things that you can't really hear from the person. So just a warning if you are going to do subliminals. And I'm sure that I could keep going with manifestation, anything that has to do with all of these different things, but ultimately it's putting this into practice in your day-to-day life and figuring out what feels the best for you. That's it. That's why you're looking at somebody like me. I've been trial and erroring this for years and really seeing what works for me. Some people love having an extensive morning routine. Some people get really overwhelmed and they just want to do a few things. What is it that you resonate with the most? And what frequency do you need to be on in order to attract everything? AKA, who do you need to be? Who do you need to be? Sometimes overnight you can become that person. Sometimes it's going to take you building up habits. And that's only determined really by you. I can't sit here and say it's going to take you 2 weeks. It's going to take you a month. But like I said earlier, if you can live and exist in the state that I know for a fact it's already done, and nothing else, no other circumstance, no other anything that comes into my life will make me feel otherwise, that's when you've mastered it. That's when you've mastered it. And that's when it gets to be fun, because there's nothing you have to do. There's no amount of work that you have to start figuring out. It's just the flow, really. So please let me know if you guys like today's topic. If you want me to talk more about manifestation stuff, please leave some extra tips, tricks, techniques, any shifts that you might have experienced in the comments. And I'll leave the Manifest Now book link in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Earth Game Podcast. And I will see you next week for our next episode.